What's up, guys? UFC 305 is just 48 hours away. I wanted to get on here, talk about all my picks, all my bets. We're going to be going down what betting lines I think are worth it, which aren't. And then, of course, my full card predictions, letting you know who I think is going to take it and why. I do apologize for the setup. I'm not in my studio, wasn't able to make it out. I need to make sure I'm able to do it in my own home. So I have my MacBook. I have makeshift mics. I have multiple ones, but it is what it is. Maybe this is just a new layout I'm trying out. So let's start off straight to it. Stuart Nichol versus Jesus Aguiar. Guys, I got to be honest with you. I think this matchup is pretty straightforward. We have two guys who are going to want to grapple with each other, take each other to the cage, bring each other down, and have control time. I don't think this is going to be a very exciting fight, but what I will say is that I think Stuart Nichol is going to get the best out of the striking exchanges. Aguiar doesn't have a lot of success getting guys to the ground as far as percentage-wise. It takes him about 3 shots to get someone down to the ground. I think Nichol, if taken down, is going to be able to work his way up and start striking again. Because of that, I think he's going to be able to control distance, keep Aguiar at bay, and he's going to win ultimately in decision. And that's my first prediction of the early prelims. Pretty straightforward. And now I do have my phone with me because I use the Hard Rock app, guys. You got to get this if you live in Florida. And there's about 5 other states. I highly recommend it. Stuart, a negative 230 favorite, and then Aguiar is a plus 175 underdog. To be honest, I think I see the value. If you go winning method, it's plus 140 for Stuart Nichol to win by decision. I really like that odd. And then fight to go the distance, negative 125 for yes. Not too much of a fan. Either way, let's move forward. I don't want to talk about these early prelim ones too much, but still want to break them down for you. Canan versus Ricky Glenn, another bust. I'm not excited about these fights. Just older gentlemen, both coming off losses, which you're gonna see is a trend on this card. A lot of guys in here, if they do not get the win, you could say bye-bye to them. They're going to end up in PFL or just might retire because it's a lot of guys just coming off of bad performances or losses. So here's Canan, Ricky Glenn. Ricky Glenn, of course, coming off of some rough losses, and he's moving up in weight. He's moving up to welterweight, which I don't like. I think Canan, simple as this, is going to have the power over Ricky Glenn, and I think that he's going to land some shots. I don't trust Canan making it to later rounds and being as fresh, especially with his age. But what I will say is I think he catches him early. So my prediction is a Canan knockout or TKO over Ricky Glenn this Saturday. And let's check out those odds. Perfect. So the odds I have is negative 190 favorite for Canan, Ricky Glenn plus 145, winning method, Canan by knockout TKOs plus 125. Not all that. So not a big fan of betting on both of the first 2 fights. Just a lot can happen. I don't want to say they're low level, but what I will say is when you're dealing with early prelim type of fighters, you get a lot of unpredictability. You get guys who just all of a sudden start performing really well, or guys making really bad decisions. So honestly, if I'm not 80-90% confident on the fight, I usually don't bet them. Maybe I toss them into a parlay for shits and gigs to help me out a little, but not a big fan of close early prelim or prelim fights. Anyway, Tom Nolan, Alex Reyes. Guys, Alex Reyes, poor guy's fought twice in the last 7 years. For those of you who don't know, that's Dominic Reyes' little brother. And boy, this guy's had medical issues. This guy's gotten knocked the hell out in the octagon. And quite frankly, it's just time to say goodbye. Personally, I think the UFC does want something out of Tom Nolan. So what I think this is Alex Reyes being fed to Tom Nolan. And what's going to happen here is a finish. And the odds reflect it. Another fight, unfortunately, that I am not recommending anyone bet on. Tom Nolan is coming in as a negative 1,300 favorite. Alex Reyes sits at a plus 650 underdog. If you take anything here, fuck it. Shoot Alex Reyes. He'll come out hot. He needs a win. Everything is on the line for this guy to not get cut. YOLO, if you want to put some money. But I say stay away from this fight because Tom Nolan should steamroll. Everybody thinks he's going to steamroll, and it's what should be done. One thing, if you're new here, one thing I always say, there's a certain point. I think when I go anything north of 250 as far as a favorite, so anything less than negative 250, so negative 300, negative 400, and so on, it's not worth it because at the end of the day, this is mixed martial arts. And in any sport, an underdog could come in and perform. But when you have such a heavy favorite, I mean, it's just never worth it because it just takes one shot. It takes one bad move and it's over. So I never bet on heavy favorites. It's just not a good idea. But my prediction is definitely Tom Nolan, and it's going to happen within the distance. We move on. Jack Jenkins, Herbert Burns. All right, Herbert Burns, I think it's 3 straight losses. The guy could be a little dangerous, but I just think as like this guy is straight estrogen or something. I don't know what's up with him. He has no dog, no fight in him. Just one of these guys that I suspect to give up when the going gets tough. And Jack Jenkins, on the other hand, I'm just excited about this guy, a phenomenal striker. And what I'm super impressed by, to be honest with you, his ability to stop the takedown is solid, but his leg kicks, just check out his leg kicks. I'm sure he's going to abuse Herbert Burns in this fight. He's going to mess with his mobility. And in my opinion, Jack Jenkins finishes this by TKO. I'm super psyched about this guy. But again, the odd makers are screwing us over. Jack Jenkins, negative 850 favorite. Again, it's just not worth it to me. Winning method, Jack Jenkins by KO, TKO is negative 230. I do love that one. And then him by decision is actually plus 400, which might be worth it, but I do think he gets a finish. So we've gone through 4 fights already, and I'm telling you, there's not much value here, at least not much confident value. It's a tough one, man. The UFC is making it tough. And again, 2 guys coming off losses. Next up, Casey O'Neill, Luana Santos. This one's really tough because, in my opinion, Casey O'Neill has had better competition up to this point. She had a nice little streak starting her UFC career, then now is coming off 2 back-to-back losses, and then Luana Santos, I believe, is on a 5-fight win streak. And I like momentum here. Am I gonna say that Luana Santos is the superior fighter? Yes, in some areas. I think in grappling. And I just think she does a really good job of mixing in her striking to get her into position. She closes the distance with her striking to mix in some judo and get her opponent on the ground. And because of that, I just think she's going to come out on top with a decision victory, even maybe sneaking in a sub. Casey O'Neill is just one tough chick, so I don't like betting against her. But I think I am this week because I'm pretty confident that Santos could get it done. And she's a negative 150 favorite, and then O'Neill's a plus 115 underdog. I like these odds. They're really close. It just looks good. All right. And then, of course, if we go to winning method here, let's see. These are exclusives. Method. So Santos by submission is plus 500. I love that. Santos by submission. I think this fight could get ugly. She could take O'Neill down. O'Neill, of course, is one tough chick. But if Santos has a good game plan, I think she could find her back or just sneak in a submission. Of course, O'Neill is no sleeper for a grappler, but I think it may happen. Either way, Santos money line is a good idea. The odds are good. I'll take it. And of course, guys, if you're new here, if you like my breakdowns or if you just want to talk shit, do your thing. Leave your comments below. Again, this is new. I don't have my equipment, but check out my page and be sure to follow my Instagram. I love talking MMA and UFC. All right. Josh Culibao, Ricardo Ramos. This is actually a really tough fight to call too. Another matchup where 2 fighters are coming off a loss, and that's really tough. I was on the Josh Culibao train, but he's proven that he is not as trustworthy as I'd like him to be. Ultimately, I am gonna take him, and it almost has more to do with Ricardo Ramos than it does with Culibao. To be honest with you, I think Ricardo Ramos makes really poor decisions in the fight, and I think he gets caught, and I think that's his problem. Now, if he's set with a good game plan, he's getting proper coaching, I think he has a good opportunity. I mean, his grappling is real deal. He could be a real problem for Culibao, but I just think Josh Culibao's movement and his striking is so elusive and so good that it takes Ricardo Ramos to make one bad decision, to be on the wrong side of a slip or something of that sort, and just catch Josh Culibao's knuckles. And he's going down to the octagon, man, to the canvas. And I'm speaking like a true casual there, but it's the truth. I just think that his footwork, his elusiveness in the striking, and then Ricardo Ramos with poor IQ, it's a recipe for disaster. All right, let's see these odds. So right now we have Culibao negative 160, Ramos plus 125. Again, a close one to call. I am not confident in this pick. I'll be honest with you. It's pretty freaking close, but it doesn't have bad value. But let's see Culibao by with a finish. Culibao KO TKO plus 275. I don't think that's a bad call there. Fight to go the distance, yes, is plus 105. Also not a bad one. So we do have some potential here, but it's all about how confident you are in your pick. This is not a fight I'm necessarily all over, to be honest with you. Let's move on. It looks like I've been all favorites up to now, I believe, which is kind of rough. But I think I have 2 underdog picks for this card. All right. Junior Tafa, Walter Walker. Guys, disaster heavyweight matchup. A mess, if you ask me. What I will say about Junior Tafa is that his last fight where he got chewed alive, eaten alive with leg kicks was against De Lima, and he came in for his brother on short notice. Walker, on the other hand, he had a decision loss, his UFC debut, and just look not good, right? Just a sloppy heavyweight fighter, not much to him. What I will say about this is that both of these guys, there's a lot of expectation because of their brothers. And I think these odds are reflecting that right now. Junior Tafa is not Justin Tafa. Is he a good striker? Is he powerful? Yeah, I think Walker needs to be very careful, very weary of Junior's power. But when I look at everything these guys bring to the table, I'd like to think that Walker has a better gas tank than Junior Tafa. And I think that Walker's going to actually be able to take down Tafa and make him a little uncomfortable grappling. If these guys start grappling early, I could see Tafa losing his power early in the fight, and then this just kind of being another sloppy heavyweight fight that we see going to decision. If we're going into the decision in a sloppy heavyweight fight, I'm going to go towards the guy who's trying to grapple the whole fight, and that's Walter Walker, because Walter Walker, what he needs to do this fight is abuse leg kicks now that he knows Junior Tafa doesn't freaking check him, and then he needs to close the distance, take him down. Of course, when you're closing the distance, you run into issues because Junior Tafa can't sleep you just like his brother can, but I am not a fan of Junior Tafa being the favorite, even though it's just negative 135. I'm actually going Walter Walker plus 105. I love it. And I really actually like it in decision. I know, heavyweight fight to decision. Are you crazy? What are you smoking? I really like that one. And it's at plus 260. I think it's very believable. I think it's the most likely thing to happen if Junior Tafa does not have an early knockout. If we make it 3 minutes into this fight and you don't see Junior Tafa have a nice groove or setting something up, I think we're going straight to decision with Walter Walker. I know that's quite the take, but I'm running with it. Next up, Li Jingliang, one of my favorites, one of the UFC's favorites in the last few years. Everybody has a soft spot for him. And then Carlos Prates. Look, guys, Li Jingliang's a real deal, but it's been over 700 days since he stepped in the octagon. I'm not a fan of inactive fighters. I say that all the time. I believe very much so in ring rust. Is it always right? Obviously not, but it's something I believe in. Carlos Prates, at the end of the day, is just a lethal striker. I think his kicks, his elusiveness as well. I know I've used that word already in these breakdowns, but it's true. The guy's extremely dangerous, and he mixes it up really well. Li Jingliang, not a terrible striker, definitely a good striker, someone who wants to finish the fight. What I see here is fireworks. I am calling fight of the night right now, Li Jingliang, Carlos Prates. It's going to happen. However, who's getting slept? I'll bet money that this fight doesn't go the distance, and I'm going to tell you those odds now. But Li Jingliang, Carlos Prates, Li Jingliang's underdog plus 250. Carlos is negative 375 underdog. I like those odds. I think they're accurate. Winning method, Prates by knockout, negative 120. So I guess that's the line everybody's expecting. But Li Jingliang plus 650, KO TKO, guys, that's fantastic value because Li Jingliang is coming off of a layoff, and I think that he's going to be looking to kill. He's looking to entertain, and he's looking for the big shot. So I would not be surprised if Li Jingliang could find a finish here. Again, my prediction goes towards Carlos, but there's good value there. And then fight to go the distance, no is negative 230. I would maybe throw that in a parlay. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad parlay, but this is fireworks, and I love it, guys. This is a tough one. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say about that one. Next up, Tai Tuivasa, Jarino, Rosenstruk. All right. Tai Tuivasa in Australia. I mean, maybe I'm being biased, and I hate being biased in my picks. I really try my best not to. My heart says Tai Tuivasa. Everyone's picking Rosenstruk. He is the favorite. Right now, he's sitting as a negative 230 favorite. Tai Tuivasa's plus 175. If you're betting on Tai Tuivasa, you don't take the plus 175 because it's silly. What you take is Tai Tuivasa plus 240 because that is the only way he is beating Jarino Rosenstruk. It is the only way. I mean, the fact that the knockout win is plus 240 and him winning is plus 175 is ridiculous. They should be the same line because it's the only way. Anyway, Tai Tuivasa is not the better mixed martial artist of the two men. He is, in my opinion, the bar fighter, the guy who's going to come in with the heavy kicks to just chop down your legs, and he's going to find a finish, and it's going to come usually in the first round. Now, we have not seen the same Tuivasa in the last, let's say, 3 or 4 fights than we have in the last 4 years. That is very true. But again, he's fighting in Australia, and something tells me that last loss, that submission loss to Tybura, really messed with him. And Rosenstruk's in for a tough first 5 minutes. This goes past the first round. Sign me up for Rosenstruk by decision. I'll take that any day of the week. And again, I don't want to take any credit away from Rosenstruk. I think he's the better fighter, and he is very capable of knocking out Tai Tuivasa. But if you ask me, if these guys are going at it from the jump, they're in the pocket, they're swinging, they're trying to kill each other, I'm taking Tai Tuivasa every time. And now, against my better judgment, one thing I've always said about fat dudes who lose weight, you're not going to be as funny and you're not going to be as powerful. All these power lifters, these strong guys, they all carry weight. You lose that weight, you're going to lose some power. Tai Tuivasa's gotten more in shape. He's a lot leaner now. So I don't like the power thing. I don't like the weight loss thing. I think, again, you lose your humor and you lose your power. Not a good thing. But either way, Tai Tuivasa, knockout or TKO, I think it's plus 30, and I'm taking that because he's in Australia, and I love it. Plus 240, actually. But let's move on. Let me know what you think about that one. So that's my second underdog pick. Mateus Gamra, Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is a new man. USADA's gone. Guess what? Dan Hooker found a good tattoo artist, and he is on some tests. He's running some shit. He's looking fantastic. He's a scary dude. Mateus Gamrot, on the other hand, we know the story we're going to get with this guy. He's trying to grapple. He's going to take Dan Hooker down. He wants control time. Maybe goes for a submission or two, but if not, he's winning this fight in decision. We know that's how this is going to go. Why are we questioning it? Well, it's because at the end of the day, Dan Hooker looks like a new man. He's down for the nitty-gritty. He's down to strike. He's down to get hurt. And Mateus Gamrot's gotten dropped in like his last 4 fights. I don't like that one bit because Dan Hooker, the way he's looking right now, if he lands a clean shot on Mateus Gamrot in any of those 15 minutes, we might see a huge surprise of an underdog laying out Mateus Gamrot. So Dan Hooker, actually, there's been some odd changes, I think. Mateus Gamrot, negative 375 favorite. I'd stay away from that, like I told you. Dan Hooker, plus 250. Mateus Gamrot, maybe you sprinkle him into a parlay, but again, I don't like the minus 375. Pretty risky for a fight like this, if you ask me. Fight to go the distance, negative 240. And Gamrot by decision is negative 125. Dan Hooker by knockout, plus 850. There's some value there. I like Dan Hooker by knockout. That is something I'm not doing probably. Maybe I'll sprinkle some money, but that's something I think if you want a long shot pick right there, I think is very possible. In reality, again, my prediction is Mateus Gamrot. I think he's going to take Dan Hooker down. I think he's going to be fairly successful. He's going to have a lot of control time, and I think we see a decision win for Gamrot. Also, let me see the Gamrot by submission, what we have here. Gamrot by submission plus 400. There's also some value there, guys. Moving on, Kai Kara France, Steve Erceg. Guys, everything I hear, look, 2 more guys coming off losses. Kai Kara France, all I hear is he has more experience, the more experienced guy, the most experienced guy. Listen, Steve Erceg just fought for a UFC championship. I don't want to hear about experience anymore. Let's say he lost that fight because of inexperience, because he went for that late takedown. I don't care. Scratch that. We move on. He's been at the highest stage. He fought for the belt. Steve Erceg, in my opinion, is a better mixed martial artist. And when we get to striking, Kai Kara France is scary. But I like to say Steve Erceg is the more technical guy. He doesn't have the reach advantage. He has nice height advantage. Maybe he'll keep some distance. I have to see his leg reach. Maybe his leg kicks will help him. But right now, I think that this is a no-brainer. I have to go Steve Erceg. Kai Kara France also has not fought in, I want to say, over 400 days. It's easily been a year. I don't like the ring rust. He looks great. He looks better than he has in quite a few years. But I just like Steve Erceg. I'm on the Steve Erceg train. Great fight against Pantoja. The real deal. Technical striking. He's a dangerous guy. I don't see a finish here, although it's very possible. But I like Steve Erceg by decision. Negative 175 for money line, and then by decision it's plus 130, and I think there's good value there. I love Steve Erceg by decision. I think that's such a safe bet. I might throw a couple hundred at that. Let me know what you think below. Last but not least, guys, Israel Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis. Only the UFC could find a way to bring in a guy who's coming off a loss and give him a championship opportunity. That's the UFC, guys. And I'm not going to go into that rant. I think I made a video about that. It is what it is. But Israel Adesanya is not deserving of this title shot. He was deserving of the rematch of Alex Pereira. He was winning the majority of that fight. He got caught. He's the second best middleweight of all time. He was on his run. He lost. Okay, you give him the rematch. He wins. And now you get dominated by Strickland. You don't get a rematch now to fight Dricus du Plessis after he takes the belt. I'm sorry. But anyway, here we are. And in full honesty, I've never been on the Dricus train. I think he's a little overrated. I'm putting my bias aside. I've watched some film. He's a bad dude. He beat one of my favorites, Robert Whittaker. He's a tank. He applies pressure. And when I say all these things, one thing I'm thinking is his fight style is going to be very similar to Sean Strickland. And that worries me. Why? Because someone like Israel Adesanya, who spent his career picking his shots, keeping his distance, being slick, again, being very elusive as a striker, the one thing that has been his kryptonite is one guy who could pressure him and counter-strike. Now, Dricus du Plessis, I'm not going to say he's a great counter-striker. I think he just applies so much pressure that you have a fighter fighting, moving backwards, which is an art in itself. Very tough for Israel Adesanya, but he's proven to be able to do it. Now, Dricus du Plessis at any time could end this fight, but again, I think Israel Adesanya is going to be able to pick his shots. He's going to be point fighting for the majority of the fight, and then this is where the biggest change comes in. I think Dricus du Plessis is going to try to grapple with Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya has been taken down before, but I think it's harder than people think it is. I think he could be taken down, but Israel Adesanya couldn't work his way back. And either way, when you're pressuring a fighter, you're moving him up against the cage. If Dricus du Plessis is going for his takedowns, while Israel's very close to the cage, Israel's never going to be taken down. He does a fantastic job of avoiding takedowns with his long legs. He uses his hips really well, and he avoids those takedowns by the cage. So it would have to be a point where Israel Adesanya is pressuring a lot, or Dricus just times one of Israel's kicks really well, shoots at the right time, and takes him down. Now, if these guys go to the ground, Dricus du Plessis has a great opportunity to dominate, get a lot of control time, and ultimately finish the fight. He's just a really powerful guy. He has long limbs as well, and I think he could get a lot of damage done to Adesanya on the ground. Now, my prediction, my bet here, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Israel Adesanya is actually going to finish Dricus du Plessis striking. I think he's going to knock him out. I think we're looking at a second or third round. I don't think we're going far out there. I think he's going to catch him. I think he's hungry. I like Israel Adesanya as a contender. I think that's what's going on. This fight's a really close one, and I say proceed with caution, but let's look at the bets. Dricus du Plessis, -110. Israel Adesanya, -120. This line is moving like crazy right now, and I would love to see Israel Adesanya become the underdog. So, let's see. Winning method. Dricus du Plessis decision +400, by knockout +325, by submission 600. Israel Adesanya by decision 260, by knockout 240. I like that one a lot. And by submission +2500, which is nuts. I don't, expect that to happen. Now, fight to go the distance. Yes, +130, no, -150. Guys, this fight, in my opinion, 9 out of 10 times, it does not make it to decision. I love those odds. And if I were you, I pick on who I believe is going to win. I say just go money line. Don't get too fancy with what you're picking unless you're going for a long shot. And I say take the fight ending under 4.5 rounds or just not making it to decision. I think that's best value. But ultimately, like I said, this weekend and new Israel Adesanya will be champion for the third time of the UFC middleweight division. Guys, like I said, sorry, I used the Hard Rock app. Be sure to download it. Again, super easy, pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of prop bets, but I think it's a very safe app, and I like it a lot. But it's only valid in like 7 or 8 states. Guys, again, new setup. Sorry, I hate this. I know the audio is going to drive me crazy, but I'm going to get myself a mic here for when I have to record off the Mac and not my studio equipment. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe, guys. Leave all the comments below. I'm the MMA Casual. I love you all.